Hi, I'm Grace and welcome to another chair yoga class. So for this week's video, I decided to make a chair yoga class that might be a little bit different from what you might expect from a yoga class because it's more of actually using the chair as a prop. So for this particular class, I know in the last video I made, I said it's good if you have a chair that doesn't have like arms attachments to it. But honestly, for this class, that's preferable, but that doesn't really matter as much as long as you have like a sturdy chair. So, also, again, this is like, I feel like I have to do this every video I make, but it's like the neighbors know when you're like trying to make a yoga video and need it to be quiet, and that's when they decide to do like noisy things. So there's a man with a weed whacker outside. I'm sorry, but every time I try to make a video, there's noise, so at this point, are we even surprised? Okay, so it's gonna be a similar setup that you needed for the last video. So you will need a yoga mat to ensure that your chair does not slip, and you wanna have your chair on with at least 2 of the legs on the yoga mat. And I figured for the purpose of the video, since I've already done like different breathing exercises in past videos, and I'm thinking about just making some shorter videos that are just like breath and meditation, I would just get right into the poses. So that's what we're gonna do. As always, if you have any aches, pains, uncomfortable things during the practice, come out of the pose and just give yourself grace. Okay. So, got my notes. So we're gonna start today with another version of cat-cow. Yes. This one is a really cool one because we're using the chair, so you don't actually have to come all the way down onto the mat. So we're gonna use the seat of the chair. And what we will do is stand about, imagine like you're in table, but standing, right? So you still want the knees under the hips, ankles under the knees, and draw the shoulders away from the ears. And again, same deal as a normal table. You want to make sure that you're not locking the elbows here, so keep a little bit of softness in the elbows. Long spine. Try not to lock the knees too. And from here, we will drop the belly down towards the chair, lift the heart, and find a cat. No, this is cow. Cat-cow. So we're in cow pose. See what that feels like. And on your exhale, we'll curl it all in. Bring the chin towards the chest like a Halloween cat. My cat does this every time he stands up. It's so cute. I'm like, oh, you're doing cat-cow. Okay, so move with your breath. Let's take an inhale. Find that standing cow. Exhale, curl it in. Halloween cat. So this might feel a little bit different, obviously, but I think it's kind of cool to do cat-cow in these different positions because it'll feel slightly different every time. I just realized I had my feet together, but you can step them about hip distance. I didn't even realize I was doing that. Okay. So with cat-cow, I would say at the beginning of your practice, take about 5 or 8 of them. So let's take about 3 more altogether. Hope you're doing well. I missed you guys. 2 more. Modified cat-cow with a chair. So this is like, shows you all of the different ways you can use a chair for yoga, which I think is pretty neat. Let's do 1 more. Curl it in, cat pose. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, let's come back to a neutral spine. If you notice me sniffling, I just have really bad spring allergies. Okay, so next up we're gonna do a side bend. So actually what I'm gonna do for this so that you can see is turn my chair this away. So this is similar to if we were in table on the mat. What we'll do is we'll walk both hands over to the right edge of the chair first to make like a C shape with your spine. And again, I'm like force of habit stepping my feet together, but you can step the feet about hip distance apart, and we'll take a side stretch here. So this is, again, moving the spine in the directions that we usually do at the beginning of a class, but it's a little bit different because we have a chair. So, and I think too, the cool thing about having a chair, and I talked about this in the last video, is that you can really use it so that the muscles you're usually using to hold yourself up can actually relax into the pose more. So you can get a little bit deeper of a stretch, which is neat. All right, so remember to breathe. I'm gonna stop yammering for a second. Try not to collapse into the arms, but lift from your core here, lift your heart. Keep the neck nice and long. Let's take a couple more breaths here before we take it to the other side. I can feel my nose running. Okay, one more breath in. Exhale out. And then we'll walk it through the middle of the chair, and then we'll take it over to the left side. So again, feet are about hip distance apart, so probably a little bit closer than like the width of your chair. And then we'll take both hands, keep a soft bend in the elbow, in both elbows, goodness, to the left side of the chair and find that bend in the spine again. So same deal as like any other pose that we do. You can kind of control how deep you go into this. So maybe you only come to like here rather than the edge of the chair. That's fine. So just find wherever feels the best. You can play around with it and see, and we'll take a few breaths here. There's a semi-truck going by. I live next to the highway. At first I didn't know about the sounds of the trucks. I thought I would dislike it, but it's actually kind of soothing. My friend Abby said, well, if you think about it, you know, it kind of sounds like the ocean. And I said, that's a good way to think about it. So, ocean sounds. Okay, one more breath in on this side. Exhale out. Maybe exhale out through the mouth and sigh. We'll come back to the middle. All right, now from here, we're gonna take a forward fold. So actually, props. This is a pillow with my cat's face on it. Please don't make fun of me. So you can use a pillow if you want, or even a block if you have one, or you can just use your chair. So I'll show you a couple different ways you can do this. So, well, first let's start with the pillow. So to come to a forward fold, again, we'll stand about hip distance apart. Fold down like you would, and you can let the top of your head just kind of rest on the pillow. Here we are. Or you can take the pillow away. You don't even really need to use the chair for this. You can just kind of forward fold. You can ragdoll if you like, but the chair is nice just because it kind of gives you a little place to land. So just make sure you relax in that, keep it nice and long. We'll take a forward fold and maybe walk out the legs. We'll stretch out the hamstrings. I don't know about you guys, but my hamstrings are always like uber tight. Like if there's like one like part of my body on my person that's like consistently always needs to be stretched, it's hamstrings. Okay, so this is my Leo pillow. I'm gonna just rest my little head there. Take a few deep breaths here. And of course, if you feel like you need to come out of it, or if you feel dizzy or anything like that, then you can come back up. Leo has decided to join us This chair in the corner is from IKEA. I bought it with a gift card I had, and sometimes I'm allowed to sit in it, but it's mostly for the cat, because he decided he likes it. And if you guys have pets, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take one more breath here. And then we'll come up, think of this as like a halfway lift. All right, very good. Let's slowly rise up to stand. This is Leo, the one on the pillow. He's like, what are you doing? All right, so next up, I will once again turn my chair so you can see. This is a pose that my yoga teacher training instructor invented called kitchen sink, because it resembles when you are standing at a kitchen sink and you lean over it. Okay, so you're gonna take hold of the top of your chair, walk out a few feet, and just bow forward like you've had enough, okay? And you can kind of walk your hands down the length of the chair too if that feels better, floating the arms forward. Nice back stretch, shoulder stretch, what have you. This is a good yoga practice just to kind of stretch out all of the tight muscles, I feel like, in your body. Sometimes I think about, if you guys have ever seen the show Supernatural, I think of like when you get like a really good stretch, it's like demons are like escaping from your body. That's kind of weird, but I don't know. It goes through my mind sometimes. All right, so take a deep breath in, kitchen sink pose. Keep the neck neutral. Exhale out. Let's take a couple more breaths here. This pose feels good. I'm gonna hang out here for a couple more breaths. And then on your next inhale, we'll use that to lift up. All right. Now, I have a couple more things that I feel like I want to add that aren't in my little notes, but I'm not surprised. I am the type who likes to fly by the seat of my pants, as you call it. So let's just use our chair now to do some little lifts back and forth. So you can come onto the toes and then onto the heels. This is really cool for strengthening the calves if that's something you're into. It also just, I don't know, it's fun and it feels good. So you can kind of think about like creating a little bit of momentum with it. Also, it kind of helps to like, as you do this, lean your belly forward, and then when you go backward, like push your butt out a little bit. It kind of makes it like more of a swinging motion. Let's do a few more of these. These are kind of fun. Toe lifts. One more we'll hold. Very good. And then come back down. All right. What do I have next? Let's see. Oh yes, okay. So I'm gonna turn my chair again. You probably don't need to turn your chair as much as I am for this. I'm just doing it so that you can see what I'm doing. But, okay. Also, I'm like, it's amazing how bad I am with like getting camera angles, but I'm trying my best. So I'm gonna give you two versions of this. I'm gonna try to get myself in the whole shot. Two versions, okay. So first one, actually the first one I'm gonna show you, I need to do it this way. So the first one, you're gonna face towards the back of the chair like we were. I have more notes so that I can get this perfect for you. Okay, so stand about a couple feet away from your chair, hip distance apart. And you can grab the back of your chair. Let's step your right foot forward a little bit, bend that knee, and then we'll step the left foot forward even more to come into this position, okay? So you might feel it a little bit in this leg, but it allows this leg to stretch, so we're getting a stretch in the hamstring. And it's almost like I'm getting chair vibes in this leg. So lift up those left toes. So this is the first version. And then obviously I'll want to do that on the other side. The other version. And it's literally musical chairs. We will actually pick up our leg for this one. And again, you don't want to lock that knee, but we'll hinge from the hips, like always, lengthen the back, and extend over that leg. Again, like flex the toes up towards you. So this is another way that you can kind of use the chair to get deeper into a stretch. It's pretty cool, eh? That was lame. Okay. So here we are, hamstring stretch. Or for me personally, like I kind of feel it in my calf too. I think my entire leg is just tight though. So like I always say, depending on where you store your tension and where you're tight, that's where you'll feel it. But remember to breathe. And with deeper stretches too, like this one, we want to hold it for a little while longer just because that's what allows our body to be like, okay, pal, I can chill out and relax into the pose. So we'll hold this one for a few more breaths before we do the other side. Again, if you want to take the other version, you can do so. Personally, I think even though this one you have to get your leg higher, it's a little bit easier to relax because this leg is more, it's less active, I guess. But it's your choice. I wanted to give you options, so. Just make sure you keep the spine nice and long. If you want to just come up and sit like this, right here, this is fine too. If this is giving you enough of a stretch, and you stay right there, my good friend. I don't know if you can see my cat, but he's like over by the chair just watching me. Okay, let's take one more breath here before we switch. So if you're leaning over, we'll inhale to come up to stand. And then we'll go ahead and switch at the other side. So if you feel like you kind of need to shake out the legs, you can go ahead and do that before we switch. So again, you can take that version I showed you before, or you can use the chair to lift up that leg. Ooh. Try not to lock up that left knee, so you can keep it a little springy. Flex the right foot, so you're reaching the toes up towards the sky. You can stay right here, or you can bend over the leg. So if you choose to kind of take the bend, try to lead with your heart and keep your back nice and long and keep your neck relaxed. I know that's a lot to ask of you. But that's why we practice. So remember to breathe. I'm just consulting my notes to make sure I'm demonstrating this right. And same as the other side, you want to make sure that when you bend from the hips, just like when you're coming into a forward fold. That way you can keep your spine nice and long. So with deeper stretches, again, we want to hold it a tad longer. So you can even hold these poses even longer than I'm telling you to hold them if you want to just pause the video if it feels like you want to stay a bit longer. But otherwise, we'll take a couple more breaths here. That was the thumbnail shot. And then on your next inhale, we will lift ourselves back up, nice and tall. Very good. So, if you feel like you need to shake it out again, you can go ahead and do that. And I had planned to do this at the end, but I feel like I want to do it now, and then after our next pose. knocking on heaven's door or washing machine. So stand about shoulder distance apart now, and we'll keep the knees and ankles loose and just sway from side to side. I'm gonna move this out of the way because I can tell I'm gonna whack it. So you don't need your chair for this, but it's pretty fun. This also gives us a little bit of a spinal twist too. So, lots of fun things happening with this movement. So yeah, just keep your knees and ankles loose. Let them flow with the movement. But this is nice to do after you've done some more challenging stuff, I feel like. Those were some deep poses too, so good job. You did good. I'm proud of you. If you are getting yourself to like do physical activity while we're all inside, props to you, because it's not easy to do that. Really. So, good job. I'm glad you're here. This gives me a reason to put real pants on, making these videos. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. So, let's do one more each way. And we'll bring it back to the center. And then the last pose I want to have us do for the day is tree pose. And again, we have our chair handy for this. So I always mention when we're actually in the studio that you can use the bar or the wall when we do tree pose because it can keep you safe. And it's just nice to kind of have something near you to hold on to. So, we're gonna do tree. All right, so start by standing about hip distance apart again. And since the chair is on my left side, to start out with, we'll start by picking up the right foot. So shift your weight into your left foot. You can kind of bend that right knee. In art history, we call this contrapposto. So if you're ever on Jeopardy one day and they ask you that, you know who to thank. Okay. So once you feel like you're light enough in that right foot that you can pick it up, you can come onto the toe. And then I'll give you 3 versions of this again. So the most important thing with tree pose is that we get this opening up of the hip, okay? This is tree pose. So it doesn't matter where you put the foot, as long as it's not on your knee. What matters is that you get this hip opening. So you can be here in this toe to the floor version. You can pick up the foot to take it, cat just ran out of the room. You can take it to the inside of the ankle, or you can pick up the foot and take it to the inner thigh. Just make sure it's not on your knee. So one of those 3 options. For me, it's a lot easier to do this version when I have something to hang on to. So if you don't normally do that one, you can try it here. But it's nice, isn't it, to kind of have that little chair buddy next to you. Now, if at any point you decide you want to let go, you can, but it's there to catch you if you fall. So, you can do prayer hands, you can extend the arms up, wherever you want to have the hands. Hello, weed whacker friend. Let's take a few breaths here. Also, make sure that you have a still point to gaze at ahead of you. Even though we have the chair, it is still helpful to have that. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier as we were coming into the pose, but anytime you're going to do a balancing pose, make sure you have your drishti point or your point of focus. And remember to breathe. Try not to hold your breath. That's very on brand for springtime. They just came like right up to my window with the leaf blower. So that's good. Just put on music in the background or something. I can't do that because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but you can at home. Also, for music, I like to use Liquid Mind. If you come to my in-person classes, usually I just put on Liquid Mind in the background, like the whole class. So if you just put on Liquid Mind on shuffle, you will get the same experience that I usually deliver to you. So there's a tip for you. Let's take one more breath here before we come out of it. And then to come out, we will relax the foot. Again, you can shake it out. And then we'll try the other side. So I'm gonna move my chair yet again. This video can just be like a flip book of me like moving this chair. Is my head getting cut off? That would be embarrassing. Okay. So we're on the other side of the chair now. Hello. Stand about hip distance apart, and it's the same thing. So this time, we're gonna pick up our left foot, so you can shift the weight into the right side till you can come up on the left toes. Open up the hip, and we're here. Or you can do inside the ankle, or you can pick up the foot and come into full tree. And you've got your chair friend to support you, or you can just come to a normal tree. Find your point of focus and remember to breathe. And balancing poses really are more mental, I think, than physical. Like, I tend to notice in balancing poses, the second my mind kind of starts to deviate is when the pose also starts to deteriorate. So, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay when that happens. It's just kind of fun to observe. At least for me, I think I'm like, oh, that's when I started to not be focused on the pose anymore, and that's when I was losing my balance. So just notice that some days you're gonna have really good balance days, and some days you're gonna have not so good balance days, and it's okay, either way. Remember to breathe, again. And if you're having a really good tree and you want to stay, you can stay here, friend, or if you're ready to come out, we'll take one more breath in. Maybe reach the arms up, just for fun, for kicks and giggles, and then we'll relax the foot down. And again, you can take a round of knocking on heaven's door here, again, just to shake everything out, loosen up. I think this is a fun one to do after you've been really still, because then you get to move. I'm gonna move this out of the way again. And once you've finished your last round of knocking on heaven's door, you can step the feet hip distance apart or together, and we'll end in standing mountain pose. So we'll stand up tall, and I'd like you to think about what's something you could do today to help lift your mood. I don't know, knocking on heaven's door for me just always makes me feel kind of more energized and happy. And so maybe you're feeling really good after this yoga practice, but if you feel like you still need a little bit more of a boost, think about maybe what's one more nice thing you can do for yourself today that will make you feel good. Think about that for this last moment of yoga class. And I hope my head isn't getting cut off. Let me back up. Okay, so that wraps up today's intermediate level chair yoga practice. I thank you all for joining me again. And if you have any requests for future classes you would like to see or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section of this video. And I will read them and I will respond to them, and I would be so happy to hear from you because I miss you so incredibly much. So I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. I hope you are doing as well as can be. Please feel free to reach out if you would just like to say hello or have any class requests. I would be more than happy to accommodate that. And I will let you get on with your day. So we will end today by saying namaste. So namaste to you all. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week. Bye.